Yes, hello everybody. My name is Thomas Bause Mason, and maybe to share a little bit of my experience with NABA DPP. I was involved from the beginning, and it was, as you said, Marcy, it was a great experience to see all these different broadcasters come together and look at their specifications and see where there's common ground. It's just very fascinating to see how much different they are, and sometimes also deal with how set their minds are on a very specific thing where you actually could expect more leverage and more flexibility, right? They just wanted to do it their way, right? And you have to live with that. So what I tried to do, I don't want to talk about a specific broadcaster, I can't really do that, so I created this generic broadcasting company, GBC, and what they're involved in is content creation. Some of them own studios, so it's TV shows, it's movies, it's sometimes episodes, right? Small 3-minute clips which you put online. They do traditional broadcast, satellite, cable, and terrestrial over the air. They're more and more involved in streaming, download, EST. That's a big business. It doesn't make the money yet, but it's certainly to come. They're involved in domestic and international distribution, get content out to territories in either way. So they want to be on all platforms in all territories, wherever you can watch content, they want to be with the content. And do it with an ever-shrinking budget, do more with less. These are the things GBC could be concerned about. It's software replaces hardware, so there's a move to away from specialized hardware to software only on commodity hardware. File-based workflows are everywhere. Transcoding en masse, it's a commodity. We do it everywhere. It's very decentralized. That was my experience as well. Automation is a big thing. How can we automate that? A broadcaster really wants to see a box in a rack and not many hands on some system. So get it in an equipment room. The multi-screen delivery, as I said, more and more important, so get it out to as many platforms as possible. Operator skill, it's changing from traditional broadcast knowledge to IT. So everybody's looking for this hybrid kind of operator who can do both. Storage, we need more and more storage. Use the storage more efficiently, get the file size down. It's not like you can spend as much as you want on storage just because you're getting 200 megabit files, right? That doesn't quite work. A big topic is the virtualization and going to the cloud, and analytics is important because we want to know who's watching our content, on what platform, and how can we monetize that, and go back to the ad agencies to get more money from them, right? And I think NABA DPP can help in many of these topics, right? The GBC workflow, high level today, might look like this. You get files from everywhere. You get satellite feeds. You get IP streams, live streams. Sometimes you still get tapes. And they all come in, even so a broadcaster has their own single delivery specs, which he's sending out to everybody, and it's publicly available on a website and everything. You get this kind of like different format all the time. And this usually spurs these calls on Friday afternoon where an engineer gets a call saying, hey, we got this file and our transcoder broke. How can we fix it, right? So just a big headache. It goes into ingest and then into processing, frame rate conversion, editing, whatever you can imagine, working off of a single file format. Most of the broadcasters, I would think, are there yet today. Certainly NBC Universal was. Then they also have content creation, a lot of content coming on from studios or TV properties, and it follows different specs. It's I looked at a variety of files once, and they were all different. You even got Windows Media 9 files, 800 kilobits per second, which were supposed to go on air. So you have to convert that all into the single master, and it has to be a good quality, right? And then it goes out to distribution, and you have like I just listed these 4 major outlets: terrestrial. You have to cater to satellite distribution, cable. Some of the companies, NBC Universal is owned by a cable company, right? So we have to cater to that. And then online, all possible devices, right? The business distribution, another headache because you get all these specs from all the territories, hundreds of them. There's an explosion of distribution formats and a big headache for operations because there's a lot of manual handling involved. The next step for GBC is really to create an automated system. Take what you do today in scheduling, in broadcast distribution, in playout, and span it over the whole workflow, ingest processing, wherever you can automate, move manual tasks out of these operations into and move staff into more managerial maintenance role, right? And also reduce staff. And the key here is for this automation, I think, is boiling it down to a minimum set of specification, either from content creation, from your content sources, files, satellite feeds, IP streams, and so on. And also minimize the effort you have to distribute. The future of GBC is in the cloud. So the automation step is the pre-step for the cloud. Once you have it automated, once you have it software-only applications on commodity hardware, everything is on IP connectivity. You can virtualize it, put it into a virtual machine, and move it out into your own cloud, your own data center as a private cloud, or move it to Amazon or Google or Microsoft to use their public cloud. And I think Netflix showed us all that it's doable, so they did it. Bit different business model, obviously, but we heard about Discovery. They moved all their playout into the cloud with, I believe, hundreds of channels. So certainly the way to go, and hopefully it will be the demise of the tape, and there is no tape anymore. What becomes important here too is web services. You have to somehow communicate with the cloud, feed your dashboard so you can see actually what's going on and how your workflows look, and tear down your workflows, reconfigure them, all this kind of stuff. I summarized it here a little bit, and I called it the path to the cloud. So simplification leads to automation, leads to virtualization, leads to the move to the cloud. I think here in the first step, the simplification is really where NABA DPP can help. Minimal set of specifications, eliminate manual tasks by machine-readable format, delivery specification, and a single master for distribution. Another area might be the web services. Once you have your virtualization in place and you moved your stuff to the cloud, that would be an area where NABA DPP might be involved. Here are some of the issues with delivery specifications. There's an abundance, many of them. They are often incomplete. They don't have this one information you really need, which forces somebody to pick up the phone and call the delivery company and ask for this information. They come with many formats. There are lots of differences between them. They need the human interaction. You have to make sure that they're fit to your system, and then work on setting them up in a transcoder, all this. The diversity in specification leads to errors, so you have error-prone workflows. Lots of transcoding required, so you have to have a lot of servers. Equipment costs, because you have to make sure that all these formats are in your equipment. And as I said, usually they're not machine-readable. They come as PDF, Excel sheets, Word files, text, or even as paper. And that all leads to quality issues, right? So how can NABA help here? It's a single specification. It contains all the needed information, because we worked in harmonization to come up with a complete set of them, harmonize them, and have a maximum of 2 formats. I think today we have the NABA DPP Ready Master, and in the future we will have the Library Master, which is IMF-based. Through this harmonization, we have more efficiency, minimize failure rate, seamless content exchange. If I have 2 NABA DPP broadcasters who want to exchange content, they could just exchange their NABA DPP file without any transcoding, right? Lower equipment costs, because you don't have to cater to all these formats anymore. It's machine readable, so I'm set for my automation and then, as I said, enables automation, and then with that, the cloud. Talking about the single master file, just a kind of like a high-level master ecosystem here. NBC Universal, for example, owned a studio, so they have a studio master, usually uncompressed, DPX or ACES, more and more ACES EXR now. You have a post house with a production master, which is used to derive some of the deliverables for territories. It's usually MXF J2K, maybe following DCI specs. It's high bit rate, 200 megabits per second. You have the QuickTime ProRes file, similar bit rate, 220, I think, if you do ProRes HQ. But it's compressed, and you can deliver those files over unconstrained connections to content aggregators. And if I say unconstrained connection, then I mean in terms of time, how long it takes to get this file over there, and in bandwidth, how limited your connection is. So you can either send the master or you can send various outputs, right? But that for a broadcaster, what's important is the air master. It's further compressed sometimes. You can have workflows where you have an air master, which is a QuickTime ProRes HQ as well. So you don't have much issues if you go from your production master to your air master, but often it's transcoded again down to a lower bit rate, and I have examples here, XDCAM HD422, MXF with MPEG-2 generic file, maybe at 100 megabits per second. So a variety of formats you run into as air masters. And they can then either send out further compressed via constraint connection to content aggregator, or you send them the master or via an unconstrained channel, and you're good. So there's a lot of headaches in here. You have to transcode, you have to repack, you have to get the metadata together. It's quite a challenge to go from one to the other. And often what happens is that you at the delivery step realize the quality is not there. So what I have to do to get a better quality, you have to go through all these steps back to get a better master and then start the process over again. Big headache. So there is a move now in the industry. So there are many different master formats. There's conversion needed in many cases, and then there are proprietary and specialized solution. QuickTime is a good example for that, right? And they have a SMPTE RDD now, but still, right? So there's a move in the industry now to move to IMF. People are getting more interested in this, so I kind of put together like a IMF workflow, and this is great because it kind of harmonizes all of this. So you can go from your studio master to an IMF and send it to your production, your post house, and then send the IMF maybe also to a broadcaster, right? And he can use this and use the versioning capabilities with IMF, and then create the IMF outputs, whatever your IMF can do as an OPL, you can push that out, right? But there are concerns. So the IMF file might be too large. I dealt with a lot of heat because people said, I'm not going to take a 200 megabit per second file. It's just way too much. I don't need that. I need 25 megabits average and 50 peak. So that's what I need, right? And then the other thing is a lot of the function you have in a post house for production and for delivery to territories, maybe changing out text to a different language in a movie. You don't need that in a broadcast station, right? So there's complexity to an IMF, which you might want to remove because it just creates overhead, right? So that's feedback from some of the broadcasters. And then as I said, the broadcasters who really flat out say, I don't want an IMF. I want an interoperable file, which is direct to air. It's a flat file, and I can just put it on a server and play it out, right? So at a reasonable rate of, let's say, 50 megabits per second. So how does NABA DPP play into this? So you have basically your studio master stays the same. You can have an IMF in your production post house, but what you would do is you would use the NABA DPP IMF specifications, for example, which would be the library master, which hopefully, I don't know, Clyde, when do you expect that to? Next month. Okay. So what happens really is you don't have to transcode. You only have to repackage. take some of the complexity out, and then just move that IMF file to your broadcast station. But if you're really not happy with an IMF and you don't want to do an IMF and you just want to use a flat file, you can do the NABA DPP Air Ready Master, which is based on AMWA AS11 X9, right? Yeah. So, and that comes in MPEG-2 AVC, so it really boils down the delivery specifications. And again, you can, if you decide as a broadcaster to move this NABA DPP library master to another broadcaster because you have some contract with them, you can do that without transcoding, right? So slim IMF with broadcast versioning options is the one option. The other option is the interoperable MXF alternative for direct-to-air, and then it's based on common standards-based industry solutions, open standards, and it's not a specialized proprietary kind of like specification. As a conclusion, NABA DPP can help broadcast in the move to the cloud, at least as a pre-step to simplify your workflows and to help with automation. I think there's a plan, NABA DPP is working with the BXF people to get at least some support in the broadcast automation for NABA DPP. It enables harmonization across the media industry. It's targeted at broadcasters and their needs. IMF, again, is very studio-focused, really was meant for the content exchange between studios and post houses for high-quality work, right? And then it maintains upstream compatibility by using IMF. So if the industry is really moving to IMF, the NABA DPP IMF is just a rewrap away. It simplifies the file delivery for more efficient workflows because I can just exchange my files without transcoding. And it enables cost saving through interoperable equipment. So that's it. Thank you very much.